What is up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about The Blood Dim Tide by Stephen Aryan, the second book in the Nightingale and Falcon series. It's an absolutely entertaining follow-up to last year's The Judas Blossom. Like, I had a blast with that book, and this book just continues to escalate things. I already can't wait to see what's going to happen, how this trilogy is going to wrap up. So, what goes down in The Blood Dim Tide? So first of all, let's take a minute to just acknowledge that seriously sick name. There is a reason why that name is used, but more on that later. So what goes on in The Blood Dim Tide? So much. The Mongol Empire continues to just burst apart at its seams. We have different khanates that continue to rise. We have civil war that continues to unfold. We have Hulagu Khan, who's the leader of the Il Khanate, who is on a collision course with the Golden Horde, his cousin. We have Temujin, who, after the events of the first book, set out to learn more about what it means to be a Kozan. And this book is essentially his coming of age arc, where he grows into his power. We have General Kaivan, who continues to tread a thin line between treachery and who continues to tread a thin line between trust and treachery. He continues to try to be one of Hulagu Khan's most trusted members of his inner circle, but at the same time he continues to try to push for a freed Persia in whatever way he can. And then we have Kokochin, who at the end of the previous book, she was trapped by Empress Gyuyuk, and she has to free herself from that scenario. So yeah, that's pretty much where everyone is at the start of this book. A lot goes on in this book. Like, there is quite a lot of character development for both Temujin and Kokochin over the course of this book. We see we see them kind of grow into the people that they need to be to fulfill the roles that they have within this story. General Kaivan, not so much. He's he goes through some stuff, but he's much more of his role in the story is much more heavily based on the plot. Like, there's not much character there that needs to develop. Like, given his particular trope, it is what it is. Overall, it made for interesting reading, because through Temujin we get a deeper exploration of the magical component of this series. We learn more about the Kozan themselves, and we learn more about how they interact with the world. Not just their powers, but the way in which they use their powers, the way in which they influence events and these kind of things. And that was interesting to read. I like that things aren't as clear cut as they appear, and it sets the stage for the way that entire arc ends at the end of this book was one of the most jaw-dropping things of this book. But for that, you'll have to read and find out when this book drops in 2 weeks. And then we have Kokochin, who she had quite a bit of development in the first book, and in this book we just kind of see a continuation of that in her particular character arc, in what she sets out to do, what she sets out to achieve, and the way in which she chooses to do so. It leads to some interesting conflict, and I honestly don't know how things are going to play out for her, but it will be interesting to see how they do and what happens as a result. Kind of hard to talk about her without giving spoilers for this book. But yeah, that's kind of it for the characters. The plot of this book is largely about the conflict between Hulagu Khan and the Golden Horde, and the rebellion that continues to grow in the background. And at the same time, we get the start of this book plays out over the course of quite a significant span of time, and we get both the introduction and the build up of what is clearly going to be the significant conflict of the finale in the third book. It was very interesting. Like, one thing I do have to say is that this is not the first, this is not the fifth, this is not even the 10th book I've read involving like the Mongol Empire, various takes on the Mongol Empire, both within like fantasy and within historical fiction senses. But it's just brilliant in the way that Stephen Aryan has just this ability to really capture its essence, just the absolute no holds barred bloodbath, absolute just the atrociousness of this empire and the way it achieves what it achieves. This was a very dark time in history to be within this particular area of the world, and it's depicted. It's depicted in all its gory detail. The book doesn't revel in it, but it doesn't shy away from depicting some of the darker acts of war that occur. Whether they're based in historical fact or not, I'll leave that up to readers to explore. I just enjoyed this book for what it is, which is a historical fantasy. And yeah, like this entire thing, it would not work if Stephen Aryan wasn't such a good writer. Like he just continues to really craft this engaging story. Like, this is the second. Afterwards, I found out this is the second book of a trilogy, and it didn't even read like a second book. Like it was surprisingly intense. Like, it was very action packed. Quite a lot happened. There were some seriously engaging character moments that just had they blew my mind, to put it lightly. Like it was. This book was good for a second book. It's not often that happens. Like, a lot of the time, the second book is just dedicated to like build up for the third book. That's not the case here. There is build up towards the third book, but it happens very much in the background. Like there are some scenes that happen at the forefront, but the build up is very much at the background. Until towards the end, when the threat has grown to a credible stage where it starts to become a point of concern for the main characters. And yeah, like I said, this book would not work if Stephen Aryan wasn't just so good at drawing out, at just breathing life into his characters, and at writing like an engaging plot, and at just writing like these really great sequences, action sequences, emotional sequences. There's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of politicking going on, and it never loses you. Like things just roll so smoothly that you just have a fun time with this from start to finish. Well, I had a fun time with this from start to finish. All in all, I have to say, it's a brilliant follow-up to the Judas Blossom. I don't know what I expected when I picked up this book, to be honest, but it was a brilliant follow-up. I enjoyed it tremendously, and now, this series is quickly becoming one of my favorite ongoing series. I know the third book is already written. It's gonna drop next year, and I'm excited to see how this all ends. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Blood Dim Tide. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.